I've got an old dial here that comes off of a Waterbury number 67 wall clock. Nice old clock. I bought it for myself and my wife. I've got the original hands. But what I don't have is a second hand. So I looked into it. The post was stuck on the escape wheel arbor, so I pulled that off. We're going to reuse this and make a second hand to fit up in here. I went ahead and made a little paper template of approximate size that I want to use in here, and getting a couple of measurements off of that, I am going to make a little seconds hand. These are brass. One of the problems I'm having is, it's not necessarily a problem, is these are brass. Now I don't know if you can see that as far as color, but it's either it's old tarnished or it had been finished originally with it doesn't even look like paint, but something. Now they're the two, neither one of the hands match. Now I'm assuming that this clock is all original, so what I'm going to do in the end is make a brass seconds hand and then polish these down to the brass again. And then I used a little trick from your local hardware store, blue, steel blue in a liquid form, and that oxidizes the surface. So this might give me, it's kind of in between the two as far as color, but it might give me the finish that I'm looking for to keep this kind of old looking. So we're going to use this little piece of brass. It's a little thicker than what I want to end up with, but I think it's going to work just fine. I'm going to thin it out in some areas. We want to balance this seconds hand, and we want to get it mounted to this little brass post. So I'll be right with my little paper template. What I determined I wanted to do was cover the hole that goes through the dial with my round piece in the center here. So I made it 8mm. Then what I'm also doing is here on this cutout of these horns, I am going to make that 8mm also. Then this is going to be a bigger diameter circle. Just here, determine what's going to look the best as we go. Good friend of mine gave me a tip and I made a little hardened steel filing guide. This nib on here is the size of the end of my post. Okay, so when I mark this out, I'll drill that hole first. Then I'm going to use this, and I've got another piece here. As we stick it together, this will be a nice file guide. I'll stick it right in the vise, and we'll see how that works. Just hardened, W1 hardened steel. We'll use that. That'll be nice. We'll get to it here. I'm going to scuff this up pretty good. This will be the back side of the, well, it'll end up being the front side, but I'm going to be finishing it all off anyway. I want to scuff it up fair, and I'm going to glue it onto this wooden piece of pine. This is going to give me a handle to hold on to. use my file guide just to get some marks on here. I think I'm going to make another file guide for the horns back here. I'll turn a diameter, I haven't figured that out yet, and then offset my pin specific distance. I think I figured 2 millimeter. I'll show you how I do that. Okay, in my little drawing I had moved this center point 2 millimeter, and then I increased the diameter of this. I wanted the diameter to come around just so when it meets the other circle, it's past the center point. So I measured that out, and it comes out to be 8.9 millimeter, and offset here 2 millimeter. Well, let's do that. Okay, I chucked up this piece of steel in here in the four-jaw chuck. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered in there at this point. Well, at any point really, because we're going to turn the diameter and then we're going to just move it over 2 millimeter and then make our pin. But you do have to get it close enough so that when you get to your final diameter here, you got enough material. Okay, 8.89 millimeter. That's pretty darn close. Okay, now we'll lock this right there. So I want you to see here what we're doing. Get this set up. I want to be at the apex here. Okay. Now I'm going to push it over. One and a half. Loosen this a little bit more. Actually, loosen this. You can fart around with these things all day. Okay. Crank this in. There's 2. Okay. This around. I'm going to go a little past 2. I'm going to snug this side up too, just to do it. Yep, it's just right, just 2.03 millimeter, 2.02. That should work. Okay, our little offset piece smoothed up a little bit, hardened it. My little plan here. Just at the center. Okay, we got our little moon shape horns, or whatever you call them. So we'll head over to the scroll saw. We're going to cut most of this out. Atlas scroll saw works pretty good. Metal cutting blade. See how it goes here. Okay, pretty rough, but we're going to clean that up. Not a problem. We'll peel this off, start using these, filing up some of the straight lines, and we'll be good to go. Simple as that. Off camera, I did a little bit of this. Here, my battery went dead on the camera, so I did a little bit of the edges, cleaned those up, cut in on the corners a little bit, straighten some of this out. It's looking pretty good. I gotta cut the length too. I can't too bad. Looks pretty good, actually. Right now, it's heavy on the pointer end, so we'll work on that later. Okay, at the belt sander, I am going to first mark up and my edge. I'm going to sand that to get it parallel with the belt, just in case it's off a little bit. So, okay, so let's do that quick. Okay, now, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm going to run this. I'm just going to push my piece back and forth by hand. You can see that it's heavy on the pointer side still, so we're going to be able to remove material there. Okay, we're ready to put the second hand on its post. Just to show you, I sanded this up, polished it a little bit, I balanced it. Oop, there we go. Balanced it. So that should work rather well. It's a deadbeat escapement, so that's important to look at that. I also polish these other hands. Now I use the same technique for these hands. I took the old finish off. Now this is my clock, so I decided to do it. And I think it's going to look better with all the hands being the same color. If it was a customer's clock, I would have a long discussion with them on how they want to go about doing something like that. So it's kind of a touchy subject. We won't get into that right now. Okay, alcohol rinse, and then we'll put the blue on, the steel blue, which should color them. Hopefully they all turn out nice. Be right back. Okay, battery's gonna die here pretty quick, so I'm gonna use some gun blue in a jug, a little steel wool, and rub that gun blue in here to change the color. I will get back to you soon. Okay, well, we're finished here. I did several coats of the blue and touched it up a little bit and then wiped it down. This is what they're going to look like. Looks pretty good. I think that'll pass. Okay, this concludes making a second hand for an old clock.